talk about simple machines, I know even a hoe falls under that, but there are other machines which are not big tractors, those ones which are operated just with small engines, those ones which are operated manually, just push them. So there are so many. So I'm not talking about only a hoe.
I'm very confused. Now we talked about combine harvest. I'm very confused. Going back to plowing with oxen, which one is it? Give me something concrete.
They are tractors, but now I'm talking about the simple machines which use these simple engines, which are affordable. They don't consume a lot of fuel, and they are being used in Malaysia. So you can use Malaysia, because for me that's where I saw them. So that's what I'm talking about, that once we trade that and bring it into our nation, we would have helped a lot in agriculture.
But you're addressing something different, because what this declaration say is to have 10% of your GDP.
I understand your question. Give me time to answer.
Please go.
If you want me to answer your way, then it's something else.
Please proceed.
I have my way, and I can pass either way answer. So you want me to give the answer you have?
Simple. So, I told the person who contacted me that let me hope you are taking me into a debate, not something like questioning you, then you answer this, someone asks another question to take you off. So, what I was saying, there is a need to get that into
that modernization agriculture, where we need to import simple machines to empower agriculture sector from the regions. And once you've empowered all the regions,
that modernization agriculture. Regional governments, they are responsible to institute and put into practice what fits their region according to agriculture. So it will be the responsibility of the regions sitting and deciding even what the declaration aimed at may be less. Each region will decide according to the need of that region. That's what we call shared power.
Makes sense. Thank you.
All right, as we do go on, be reminded that our first theme of the night is youth unemployment and economic reset. This is where we'd like to turn to Honorable Robert Chagolanyi Sentamu, the one who has quite a large youth following. These are young boys and girls who need technical skills that are primarily scarce in our country right now. We look to training, we look to education, vocational education, and we also look to tertiary education that is still by and large weak. And also the digital economy is leaving so many people behind. From what you have seen in the many days you have been all over this country, if you were to become president, what immediate reforms will you use to drive an overhaul in TVET and then also build real digital skills and ensure that the young person you have been meeting on this campaign trail is actually not locked out of the future?
Thank you very much. And I'm glad you mentioned that indeed we've been traveling all over the country. For me, this is more realistic than idealistic. These are not just statistics, these are realities. These are people who've been there, and in every urban town we've reached, you've seen hundreds of young people that show up, that are desperate, they're strong, they're talented, they want to work, but these are young people that have been failed by a system. It should be noted that Uganda is ranked the most entrepreneurial country in Africa. However, the young people are being failed because 70% of the small businesses that are started do not live to complete one full year. They are failed because of high taxes. They are failed because of the cost of money, high interest rates. They are failed because of high electricity rates. They are failed because of high transportation, and this comes because of the broken down transport infrastructure. As a national unity platform in a new Uganda, we have a plan of establishing 10 million jobs. Here we're going to do this by leveraging the tourism sector. As you know, Uganda is immensely gifted. We're going to leverage the manufacturing sector, and most importantly, the creative industry. Now, having come from the creative industry, I know the potential of the creative industry. Uganda is equally as talented as Nigeria, or even more talented. But looking at the Nigeria's creative industry, it is almost outcompeting the oil industry. In fact, they call it the new oil because it is largely seen as even more engaging and more incorporating of young people, of the ordinary citizen, than the oil sector. Now, our plan is as follows. First, we want to empower and support the small, medium enterprises and the cottage industries. Now, for the benefit of our voters out there, cottage industries are the small scale industries, mainly in homesteads, that are majoring in production. These, we must understand, looking at the growing economies of the world, these have been the unsung heroes of these growing economies. China, India, Brazil, name it. So, looking at these examples, we think it can be a benefit in Uganda. I'm looking at areas, especially these that are near borders, like Arua, like Chisoro, like Kabale. If they are supported, they could boost even production, and they could even boost export, looking at production of textiles.
When you say supported, what does that mean?
Supported means cutting down, reducing the cost of doing business, reducing the power costs, reducing the cost of money, reducing the interest rates, investing in transport infrastructure. This would make it easier for them, and it would boost them. Also, it's important to mention that in this line, we want to boost production. In our manifesto, we presented our school feeding program, where the government is going to be feeding children at school. Now, the people that are going to be supplying these foodstuffs are going to be the ordinary citizens, and in a new Uganda, the government will work with the parent teachers associations, the PTA, to ensure that they identify not only the most vulnerable, but also the most trusted and competent suppliers, the eggs, the wheat, the rice, the flour, to feed the children. This way, we're going to be able to support even the small producers, the women, and the ordinary people out there. We believe that this is not only going to boost education, but it's going to help in youth unemployment. We also intend to modernize our skills development.
Your time is spent, but I'm going to allow you a minute. You have made recognition of manufacturing and tourism. These are high level in terms of strategic for any presidential candidate. Leaders have been describing it as Uganda's economic growth. However, there's one structural problem that still hinders both sectors right now, and that is unreliable power supply and high electricity costs. What's your solution?
Well, the high electricity costs can be renegotiated. As government, we can go as far as renegotiating with Bujagali to ensure that the power comes down, because that is what is going to help the productivity. There's one thing, if you allow me also talk about, that's the exploitation. The current government prides in youth employment, where mainly the industries that are owned by foreigners actually exploit the citizens to an extent that young Ugandans are paid as low as 3,500 shillings a day. Now, I was in Parliament in 2019 and we passed the minimum wage bill. Unfortunately, General Museveni refused to sign it. Now, we are going to reintroduce it in a new Uganda, and I will sign it because I will be president.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's move on to candidate Nandala Mafabi. I've been going through your manifesto, which is quite fascinating. There's something that you mentioned, cooperative-led agro-industrialization. You're familiar with that. And here you do target tea fertilizers at 30%. Explain to me how this sizzles into working on the youth unemployment problem in the country.
Thank you so much. First of all, Uganda is an agricultural country, so it's an agrarian economy. And the youth we have currently, if I give you an example, most of them are living in schools, or they have dropped out of school, but they don't have land. They cannot be able to go on the land to till it. But agriculture employs about 80% of Ugandans. Now, as a government, which should be serious government, should ensure that Ugandan citizens are employed. We're looking at skilling the youth, and we skill them in what you have. For example, we skill them in agriculture, we skill them in construction, we skill them even in ICT. Now, if you skill them in agriculture, that means you are trying to modernize agriculture. And if you're going to modernize agriculture, this youth will be employed in those sectors. I can tell you agriculture can go ahead to employ the biggest number of people. What do you do there? You produce what we call agro-processing. And if you go for agro-processing, those are industries and related industries. And when you bring agro-processing, the youth who have studied or who have not even unskilled ones, but you can skill them, will go and work in agro-processing. And that's creating jobs. And I can assure you the biggest now where we can create jobs currently is in agro-processing, in the agriculture. And Uganda has an advantage, as I said, God has given us the best weather. You can grow anything. Now, for example, here we used to have 4 cash crops, and the cash crop meant where we used to get cash. That was coffee, cotton, tea, and tobacco. And the cotton you are raising, it is called, the cotton is called white gold. Now, what has happened? You talked about tea. The tea is called magnetic money. Now, the tea, you see, right now as we speak, the soils which have been growing tea have been taken to do other things. But why we're talking about fertilizers, you need to boost that land to grow more tea. And currently, even the tea which they are growing, there's a lot of debt which they have not paid farmers. And the farmers are getting discouraged. A good government should not make farmers get discouraged. What should be there should be a mechanism whereby if there's overproduction, you have stores, that is called silos. You must be the one, be the catalyst leading the marketing processes. You must be the one even trying to call incubator industries, whereby you can create an industry and hand over. I'll give an example. I deal in fear. Total Uganda, which was, I think, an international policy, they came with a policy of saying younger dealers. What they did, they would give a young man or young lady a petrol station to run, but they would give him fuel to run that petrol station. They would be deducting the margins, but leaving him or some money. Give him a period of about 3 years. They say you must exit. so that they bring another new dealer. And the purpose was to train them how to manage business. Many of them got out and have built their own petrol station. They're up there. If government of Uganda did the same to do intubation like that, whereby we pattern even with the private sector. Another example I can give you in the next way. If a company employs disabled people, it gets the tax deductions from what this tax. If government of Uganda wants the youth to be employed, they will be employed. How? You go and say you employ this youth in agriculture, you will have the following: 1, tax exemption or reduced tax. 2, you will be given some facilities because the youth will be working and earning a living. The tax deduction and what you are giving is creating the young man or young lady to be employed. I can tell you, agriculture is one of the places we should invest more money, whereby we can have our youth employed. You talked about.
I know you're running out of time. I just want you to touch on this, right? Having worked for the World Bank, Rwanda does a very good job in Nyungwe with the tea processing. How would you use that example to address that? I just want you to help us on that. That's actually a positive, because I'm listening to a lot of sense here.
Come again?
Rwanda is growing a lot of tea in the Nyungwe plantations, and you, having worked in the World Bank, I know you use a lot of case studies. How would you use some of their examples with your experience to make the tea plantations better here?
Are you aware the Rwanda copied our proposal, which was made by Uganda?
This is why I want
So
you
I'm trying to say that what Uganda is very good at writing proposals, but not good at implementing them. I am trying to tell you that this what I'm raising can be done. Tea can generate money, tea can generate jobs. Because I'm saying that first of all, the tea farmers will get money. The processors will get money. The transporters will get money. What I'm trying to say that if our target is to invest in tea, which we are putting in our manifesto, those tea growing areas will be we have talked about subsidizing fertilizers, putting, you see factories, when you're trying to do a factory, you lead. Because a person going to the bank to borrow money is more expensive. But the government can put a factory and hand it over and tell these people after a particular time, you will have paid the factory for and go away. Currently in our country, I will give an example. There's a gentleman who was involved in the tea industry. What he did, he even borrowed money from a money lender. You know Uganda now is being led by money lenders. What happened, the cost became high. He took my minutes. Please.
Kindly, yeah.
He took my minutes. Listen to me. So when he could not pay, of course, there was a lot of loss. Our country has been done in such a way that cost of capital is too high. And because even the reason why cost of capital is high is because of government. The biggest borrower is government. So it crowds private credit. And so when someone goes to the commercial bank to borrow, they will say no money, or they give you at an expense, maybe with more conditions. Now what I'm trying to say, in the tea sector, if me become the president, I will tell you that it will be a deliberate effort to put industries, to put processes, so that credit, which should have been somebody going there, will be given by government beyond leading it, so that we create jobs in that sector. Fertilizers will be given on subsidies. And I can assure you the tea sector is the best now, because initially we had 4 of them, 4 ranking in. Tea can even overtake coffee. But of course, coffee is still high. In the current situation now, it is coffee followed by tea. Now we're getting a lot of money from tea, but also the marketing process are being driven wrongly. Government should lead in this process. I can assure you, I believe tea will create jobs and will make our youth be employed.
All right, thank you so much. Staying matters agriculture, our national anthem does pride in our agriculture backbone, good climate and fertile soils. Gregory Mugisha Muntu, many households are remaining in the subsistence economy right now as we speak, mostly in subsistence agriculture. You do have the standing current government prioritizing agro-industrialization, manufacturing with the incumbent, ensuring that there's a spread out of business and investment parks across the country. But there's also the element of tourism, construction, trade that are low-hanging fruits. Oil and gas have been promised that next year it should be bearing sharing us some fruits. There's also works and transport. All these to acknowledge that there's a high failure rate of youth-owned businesses without systematic support in those particular sectors. How do you intend to actually ensure that there's policies, that there's public investment, that there's procurement that is geared towards ensuring that the young people's uptake into these sectors is one that will help them leapfrog from the statistics we know of?
The measure of development of any country must be reflected in the development of the people first and foremost. In Uganda, where 70% of the population is in agriculture, fisheries, and crop, as well as the dairy industry, you have to focus to lift those people from the levels at which they are. And one of the things which is absolutely sad right now is that there was a total breakdown of extension services. And also, credit is very expensive. Other than PDM, which is touted all over the place, which is only 1 million, it cannot help farmers who want to invest. One, raising money for quality seeds, buying fertilizer in areas where you find that soils have got depleted, and then buying pesticides for spraying of crops, and also the use of machinery, either tractors or ox plows. That requires capital, and most of these peasants don't have access to capital, and our cooperative unions were literally broken down. It is very amazing that there is actually one fund. It is small, it's not big, the agricultural credit facility, which is given by Bank of Uganda through commercial banks. In the 74 districts where I've gone, I have asked in about 8. It's only in one district of Nwaya where only 2 people raised their hands who were aware of such existence of such a fund. Now you can imagine, this is an agricultural country. There is a regime which touts PDM, which is on 1 million. And yet the fund which could have helped those who are in agriculture would go into agro-processing. People are not aware of it at all. And it's at 12% per year. Farmers cannot survive on borrowing from commercial banks or borrowing from SACCOs at 30%, 35% and above. It simply can't happen. And therefore we propose to increase agricultural credit and expand it and sensitize people, and also ensure that we either direct or working with the private sector to establish tractor hire services in areas where they still have large chunks of land. That is only in Lango, Acholi, Teso, where you find peasants who still have, or subsistence farmers who still have about 10, 15, 20 acres. Now the other areas where people are still on about 1 acre, 2 acres, that's a totally different approach that will be used. And there also needs to be cheap credit in terms of low interest rate, long-term repayment period for agro-processing. Because agro-processing, once you establish industries successfully and expand them, they become a market for those who are in subsistence farming. And also in the area of tourism, low-hanging fruit. But Uganda is one of the countries in the region which doesn't advertise Uganda or market Uganda. I think the countries which aggressively market the countries is Tanzania, Kenya, and Rwanda. Uganda has entries about 1.2 million tourists who come in. Kenya, Tanzania has about 2.5. If Uganda was able to advertise itself, considering the beauty of this country and so many opportunities that there are in terms of tourism, and increase that rate from 1.2 to possibly about 5 million people, the employment and the levels of opportunity that there would be, those who would be expanding the beds in the country, those who would invest into cottage industries, because that would also be a market for agriculture and those who are agro-processing. If you get like 4 million tourists coming into this country, it will create market for those, someone who is producing yogurt, someone who is growing carrots and cabbages, someone who is packing rice, someone who is all nature of things. Uganda has not I think they are sleeping on the job when it comes to tourism. In that regard, this regime, it will be our intention to ensure that we fully exploit the area of tourism, because it's not called a low-hanging fruit for nothing, because investment doesn't take a long time. Marketing itself, once you have skilled advertising, Ugandans, there are so many Ugandans who are skilled in marketing, we can increase the tourist entries significantly in a 5 years' time, and it will be a very big area for employment of the youth.
In your ANT manifesto 2026-2031, you are also very big about monitoring and evaluation of the manifesto you would have put out should you become president come 2026. What would be the indicators of success for the things that you have mentioned, particularly increasing the agriculture credit and also creating markets beyond our borders?
One of the things that we really want to target and aggressively pursue is the area of corruption. We consider it as public enemy number one, because we lose 10 trillion Uganda shillings. That's about 2.7 billion United States dollars. And if you tackle first and foremost grand corruption, you know, where there are contracts for roads, contracts for water, contracts for energy facilities, where there are hundreds of millions of dollars which are lost, and you crack down, because we in our own party, we believe that if we dedicate effort in a span of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you can reduce the loss through corruption of 2.5 billion. You can save about 70-80% of that. Reinvest it into the sectors which are needed: education, health, and also areas like I've already talked about, like in tourism. One, education, it may take a little bit of time to bear the results, but it's the highest form of wealth for any country that wants to develop. Because we are clearly aware that even countries which have nothing, not even one single mineral, when they invested in education, high quality education, skilling their labor force, and of course with good political management of those systems in such countries, some of them have developed. Example we keep giving is Japan. Now consider here, if you invest in good education, invest in having a healthy workforce, and also invest in agriculture, having food security, and also having citizens who are well fed. When you have those, plus the mineral potential which we have, and good political management, the sky is the limit for this country.
And the sky is the limit for your time. Thank you so much, Gregory Mugisha Muntu. We're going to take a short break. As we do so, please be reminded the hashtag that we are running with is NTV Presidential Debate 2025. And we are running on NTV as well as Spark TV, and we are streaming live across the social media platforms, mainly X as well as TikTok and Facebook and our website. Now, there is a poll that is running. Which part of the debate is interesting you the most? There's finance and economic growth, there's health and education, there is also security and governance, infrastructure development. Now, just to extract a few comments that are coming in from our online audience, thanks NTV for preparations. Page 35 manifesto, 4.2 clean water for all, national unity platform shows interest of reducing the cost of 20 litres to 10 shillings. And there's a question there on the possibility in an economy where 50 shillings is no longer in circulation. There's also one that has commented here, WAPS on X says, what are the specific national laws, regulations and doctrine that a government that has power can actually use to ensure that there's a security, particularly regarding the arrests, the detentions, and the use of force and the such that is happening. Basically, what we have been seeing in the most recent days as far as security and stability is concerned. We also do have Waha on X when he says, when the economy is stable, security will have the funds for defense, education will be funded, infrastructures will be built, and the health will have enough drug supply, meaning the well-being of the citizens, boosting the growth of all sectors. At the end of the day, he believes that economy is the key for him. Thank you so much for your voices. Keep them coming. We take a short breather. We return shortly.
ndyetu sena yeto inagafumba.
You got Glovo.
Oina chewetaga mukatale tofayo.
You got Glovo.
If you're having a